one quick practical question. My 15-year-old daughter is going to start asking for driving lessons. When I was a teenager...
Do you remember driving? Do you remember your first driving?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember feeling the desire to have that freedom?
Oh, yes.
And get behind that wheel?
Oh, yes.
Well, stay there just for a moment and feel the freshness of that. Feel the eagerness to do that before somebody said no. Or before somebody said, you scare me.
Well, you're pointing to my question, and we used to watch these films in hygiene class of terrible automobile crashes to give us a healthy fear of what's out there. I don't want my daughter to be afraid behind the wheel, and I don't want her to attract what she doesn't want. How can I give her a healthy fear of consequences of wrong behavior and at the same time not make her afraid?
There's no such thing. Those words contradict themselves all over the place. There's no such thing as a healthy fear, and there's no such thing as a fear that does not bring you more of what you do not want.
So what you're saying is I should let somebody else teach you to drive.
No, we're saying line up your energy before you do.
Right.
That's exactly where we started. In other words, if you worry about her, and from that place of worry, you have her in the car, then whether you say anything or not, regardless of the imaginary brake pedal that you're shoving your foot through the floor on, regardless of that, if you feel concern, if you feel lack of belief in her ability to pull this off before you sit with her, then the message that you give to her is, I don't think you can do this. I
have faith in her ability. I don't necessarily have faith in everyone else's around her. I guess that's a parent's fears.
Maybe so, but let's go back to your questions are tying together so incredibly beautifully. You have fear of this world that you live in when you've been believing in action, in the actions of others. In other words, you can't control the actions of others, you say, and we say, if you control your vibration, law of attraction controls what comes to you, and no one that has that kind of an action has access to you unless you make her watch those films. You see, she has a healthy view of the world and a belief in her invincibility that is concurrent with the way the source within her feels. And we know there are people even in this room who have had bad things happen to people that they love who are having a hard time hearing this. And we say, when you don't know about energy and you don't know about alignment, and so you don't work to come into alignment, you don't have that power. And when you live in a world of action, there are all kinds of actions that you can't control. That's what's making people feel nuts. All kinds of behaviors going on, and you say, I like that behavior, I'd vote for that. I don't like that behavior, I'd vote against that. Not understanding that when you say yes to something, you include it in your vibration, but when you say no to something, you include it in your vibration. And so you have to step away from this action, yes, no world into a vibrational yes, 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 yes. I know what I don't want, I know what I do want. And of course, the variety that surrounds you cannot help but, and it is supposed to help you know what you don't want. You're just never supposed to be so heavy-handed on the I know what I don't want, 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 because when you do that for centuries, then great leaders who are receiving from source come out by saying, your desire is what's making you feel bad. And we say never. It's not your desire that's making you feel bad. It's your attention to the absence of it that is making you feel bad. This is a law that is accurate and always consistent. Jerry and Esther were in Buffalo years ago. And they turned on the television, and it was a newscast, and they were talking about the local school was having the week when they were making all of the students there watch those films and know about drunk driving. And the whole school was turned into this play where different people were assigned different roles. They actually put bloody and broken cars in the stadium.
I've been a high school teacher. I've taken part in those.
The children were to look at. And as Esther and Jerry watched it, they could not believe. They actually rang the bell, which meant someone died, which meant that person was plucked from the classroom. His parents were notified that he was dead. They were told to write obituaries. The other children were sent to the center where they would mourn him. They took it to such an extreme because they didn't think the children were taking the horror of driving seriously enough. And we say, good grief.
But a misuse
Those
of the
words don't go
theatrical
together
muse.
either, good and grief. Those are, so what you want to do, you want to say to your daughter, you want to say, I know who you are, and I've watched you, and I can feel the power of your being. And there is nothing in all the world that I want more than your well-being. And I gotta say, when I focus for a moment on the absence of your well-being, it takes me to my knees. The idea of something bad happening to you makes me crumble. And I realize that it's not because something bad is gonna happen to you, it's because I'm focused upon exactly the opposite of what I wish for you. That's why you feel that way. And then you say, I know that you're wise enough to know what you're ready for and what you're not. And I am so happy that we have this opportunity that you can get the feel of this vehicle. Say to her, I really believe that words don't teach. I think that only life experience teaches. And so you've got to get behind the wheel of this car before you're going to know. And every single one of you who counts yourself as a really good driver had several close calls early on. And it was those close calls that helped you to know that you want something different. In other words, what you want to say to her is, you're going to have some near misses. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to you, but you're going to learn. And I want you to know, I'm not standing over here biting my nails, and I'm not going to be mad at you when you have one of those near misses. I'm not going to say to you, you should have known better, because nobody can know better until they get behind the wheel. Words don't teach. That's the thing you want to say to her. Words don't teach. Whether you say this out loud to her, whether you just internalize it before you sit as her driving instructor, what you want to internalize for yourself is, I love this opportunity that we can choose our environment where you can become familiar with your relationship with this vehicle under the best of circumstances, because it is your confidence level that I care about, not your performance level. And that's the difference between action and vibration. You want her to believe in her ability to be well and safe and control that car. And most instruction does the opposite. You cannot shout someone into alignment. You cannot blame someone into alignment. You cannot guilt someone into alignment. And it's her alignment that will make her a really good driver. And so the kind of driving instruction that we would give if we were her father is, rather than saying don't drive when you're drinking, that's sort of a no-brainer. Everybody ought to know that by now, just from the consequences that come if you're ever caught doing it. But what we would want to impart is, don't drive when you're mad. Don't drive when you're discouraged. Drive when you're happy. Get happy and then drive. Get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and then drive. Because then you've got all these resources pouring through you. If you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on when you drive, you'll know what that guy's going to do. He's not signaling, he's getting ready to change lanes, you'll know it. If you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, your intuition will be there with you, and your reflexes will be at their very, very best. But if I intimidate you or conjure fear within you, then I have not lined up the energy before we've taken the action. And you could not possibly do your best performance, you see.
Thank you. You've answered my questions and many more, which I'm hatching. The answers are there. Thank you. Thank you, Abraham.
Yes, indeed.